Hello, everyone. It's good to see you here. Welcome to Creator Weekly Live for the week ending July 14th, 2024. I'm Peggy Kay, and today there are a bunch of updates for the YouTube Shorts editor. There's going to be a new option to comment on Spotify podcasts. Do people want this? Let's talk about that. There's now a possibility of transferring your photos and videos between your Google account and your Apple account. And there's a bunch of other updates too. We'll see what we get to. Thank you for joining me live today. If you're here, say hello in the chat and let me know what you think about this week's updates. So let's get started. The first update I wanted to talk about this week is new features coming to the YouTube Shorts video editor. Now, as you probably know, a short is either vertical or square and less than 60 seconds long, and people can view it in the Shorts feed on YouTube. You can create the short in your favorite video editing software, but there's also a Shorts video editor in the YouTube mobile app. And so these are updates coming to the mobile app that let you add more features to your Shorts videos. I wanted to mention my favorite update is going to be adding automatic captions to your short. So my shorts, I usually talk a lot. I use CapCut usually to edit my shorts. It has an option to add your captions automatically from the audio, and then you can edit them. So this is going to be a similar feature inside the YouTube Shorts editor where you can talk, and then it will add automatic captions. And a lot of people watch the shorts with the captions turned on. This is something that's really popular. So the first thing is the automatically generated captions. There's also going to be an update to the editor where when you have it create a short from one of your long horizontal videos, it's going to do what they call auto layout. And what this does is it figures out what what the scene is about, who the scene is about. And then when you create the short from that, it will be able to pan and crop to keep it centered on whoever is the center of that particular scene that you're clipping. Because right now, when you use the editor, you need to center it. And if the person moves around, they don't stay centered in the screen. So this is going to be a real improvement to the Shorts video editor. There's going to be a text-to-speech option, which will let you enter text, and then it will do an automatic voiceover. There'll be a few voices to choose from. There is a new sticker that's add yours, which sounds kind of vague, but the idea is that I'll say, oh, here is a short of my summer vacation, and then there will have the add yours sticker, encouraging people to create a similar short, and then there will be one page that people can go to and see all of the various shorts people did from your sticker. So it's a way of engaging the community, and it seems like it could be kind of fun. The last thing is that there's going to be I'm going to say there already is a remix option. So if someone creates a short, they can make a remix of an existing video. You can now make a remix of that remixed video. I actually created one of these. I'll share it in the video description after the live stream. It's kind of a fun thing to do to kind of interact with the existing video. And, I think on TikTok they have duets, you can do things together. This is sort of along those lines. The last update that they mentioned is that there's going to be special Minecraft effects. If you're a Minecraft fan, you might check that out as an option. So some of these are going to be available soon, some of them longer. They didn't give exact dates. The automatic layout should be available soon, and it will first be available on Android devices. The automatically generated captions, they didn't say when. The other ones, they didn't limit what kind of device it will be available on. So I would assume both iOS and Android. So that's the big update from YouTube this week. Eileen says, add yours. Stickers are popular on Instagram, although she never uses them. I think that's an interesting thing. I think it is kind of neat that you can engage people directly more than just commenting. It's like, create a short of your own. I'm going to give it a try as soon as it's available on my account, and we'll see if anyone else does it. I think the trick is to start out with something that isn't too complicated, maybe that anyone can add to. If it's like some complicated dance, at least I would never be doing a video like that. All right, so I'm going to shift here to the next update, which is from Spotify. And so this week, Spotify announced a new Spotify for Podcasters mobile app. This is great. If you make podcasts, this is designed to help you basically manage this and see analytics for your podcast on your mobile device. But part of that announcement is that they are rolling out comments on all podcast episodes. Podcasters can turn this off for specific episodes and probably for their whole show, but the idea is that Spotify wants to get on the sort of social media engagement train and add comments. It's not clear to me that this is something creators were asking for, and maybe I'm negative about this, but comments can be both a plus and a minus. If you get a good community, you can get really good comments, but you also have to do a lot of moderation. And now that it seems like every platform is sort of trying to be its own social network or its own community with comments, that's a lot of work for creators if they try to do that everywhere. I imagine people are going to have to pick and choose. So do you want to have comments on your podcast on Spotify, your podcast on YouTube? Maybe you have a Discord where you have discussion. Maybe you have a Substack and you're using their social features, which they are really heavily pushing. Or, every site now has its own comments. And unless you have a team to help you, I don't think it's possible to be present in all those places. So people are going to have to pick and choose. All righty. So I'm going to shift gears just a little bit, where I talk a lot about these different platforms and the different features they have. And I want to, of course, give a plug. If you want to get all the week's links and updates and tips, you should subscribe to my newsletter. There's a link right here on the screen. It's peggyktc.beehive.com. You get that in your inbox every Saturday. I also post it on my blog, so it's available publicly. But going beyond the various platforms today, I have some updates for the tools that you can use when you're creating text, when you're creating everything, when you're storing things. And the first thing I wanted to talk about is an update announced on the Data Transfer Initiative site. I know you can't actually read this, and it's a lot of text, so you check out the links in the description if you want to read the whole text. But the update this week is that you can now easily transfer your library of photos and videos from your Apple account to your Google account, and vice versa. This does not remove the videos and photos from your account. Instead, it makes a copy. And this is great if you want to transfer services, or if you just want to store your various images in two different accounts. It's interesting to me, especially because the Data Transfer Initiative, which is where this is announced, was actually set up by a whole, basically a team of all the major tech companies. So Apple, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and SmugMug. They are working together to actually set this up. And the idea is you're not downloading everything and re-uploading it. Instead, you're actually giving direct access to your account to the other platform. And the idea is, in the long run, to make it so that you're not locked in. I know they have as one of their goals being able to do this on social sites. I'm not sure that's necessarily ever going to happen. But if you want to do this, you can go to the Apple support pages for information about how to transfer a copy of your iCloud photos to Google Photos. Google has a similar Help Center article. I just wanted to show you in Google, there is a special Google Takeout page just for transferring your Google Photos library. If you go to that page, and again, there's links, or you can get there through your Google account settings. You can then choose whether you copy your photos to Apple's iCloud Photos, Microsoft OneDrive, SmugMug, or Flickr. And Flickr is owned by SmugMug, so it's all part of the same company. I thought at one time you could also transfer them to Facebook, but maybe that's not an option anymore. So this is something you may want to consider. It's a little bit complicated because you have to be sure that you have enough storage at the destination to take all of your content. You can pick specific albums to transfer as well. It's interesting. So this would be a way of sort of backing things up in addition to using Google Takeout to create an archive that you download, which is probably a good idea to do if you don't have any backup of your photos and videos. So those are some of the major updates this week. I wanted to switch gears just a little bit and talk about a story that's been on all my socials because I follow a lot of tech people and journalists. So this story here says, a beloved tech blog is now publishing AI articles under the names of its old human staff. This is happening to what was the unofficial Apple weblog, TUAW. This was really popular, 15, 20 years ago. It was an Apple News site, really good reporting, very, very popular. And what happened is it was part of this Weblogs Incorporated, and that got sold to AOL, and then AOL got purchased by Verizon, and the blogs were merged with the Yahoo blogs, and then things were sold off piecemeal. It's been a lot of transfer. Eventually, all of the archives of the unofficial Apple weblog, they became part of Engadget. So you can read those articles today on Engadget. What happened, though, is that Verizon, or whoever Verizon sold this to, sold the domain and general look and everything of the old blog to this sort of, I don't want to say shady, but it's basically a company that doesn't really do much of anything except buy up intellectual property. They did not apparently buy the content that was on the site, and that becomes important because they have the old domain and they took the old content, which they don't have the rights to, and apparently put it through some sort of AI spinner, which made a sort of crappy AI rewritten version of the articles, but they kept the original authors' names on these articles. So they relaunched. So the actual site has not been available for a long time, but they relaunched it. Now, of course, the writers of these original articles were not happy about this because this associates them with these crappy AI spun versions of their original articles. And after all this came out, there was a lot of outcry, and they did actually change it. So now all the articles are just AI generated profiles with random names. And I think it's gross. So, there is absolutely no reason for this site to exist except to make the owners money, because it doesn't have the original content. It has this gross sort of AI generated content. It's low quality. It's not accurate. It's like they've published new articles that are generated as well. So it's AI generated content with AI generated profiles. And the only reason why they can do this for any particular profit is that Google still lists the site. So the original site was extremely popular, tons of backlinks. It's in the Google News, allowed news sources. So they are banking on that, and presumably they have ads plastered over this, and they'll be generating revenue that way, but it's garbage. And I think it's sort of a sign of the times that, first of all, it's so easy to create a garbage site based on old quality intellectual property, but some of this, I think, is Google's fault because it continues to list the original website in the search and in the news, and they're banking on that for people to actually see this zombie version of the old news site. I'm hoping that Google gets on top of it and actually delists it, at least from Google News. This is not something that should be showing in the news. It's just pure garbage, presumably to make a profit. So Craig says AI zombified is the correct term. Yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of that in one of those articles. I can't remember if it was the 404 Media article or The Verge. They mentioned that this has happened to at least one local news site. The newspaper went under the domain. The domain was still available. So if you go to the domain of this what used to be a local newspaper, it's now just AI generated crap. And again, it has value because these sites are in Google News, they're in Google Search, so people find them. Otherwise, there'd be no purpose at all, right? What's the purpose of just crappy generated content? There isn't any. You can tell I get upset about this because it really lowers the quality of information overall, and it really devalues the work of journalists and writers who write quality content, but then there's these companies that are just in it for a buck, and it's like, oh, we'll just generate it. Doesn't matter even if the sentences make sense or if the information is correct. I hate it. So that's what people are talking about. We'll see how this plays out in the long term. It's also interesting that, these generative AI platforms, they continue to be trained on new content, but a lot of the content out there is now this crap, so they're training on the crap as well as the good stuff. It's interesting, there was an open AI press release was about ChatGPT, and they said, oh, it learns the same way as a teacher learns, but that's not actually true. It's actually ingesting all this stuff without any regards to quality. And that's part of the reason why the quality of what gets spit out sometimes is not great. All right, so I'm done ranting about that. And I'm going to share a couple of other small updates on various tools that you can use. And the first update I wanted to share is for Google Meet. If you use Google Meet for meetings and you have the option in your account to have recordings or transcripts or notes taken with Gemini. These features vary depending on what kind of account you have. If you have a personal Google account, you won't see any of these options unless you have a Google Workspace Individual or Google One Premium subscription. But the idea is now you can go into Google Calendar, to your event settings, and go into the video call options, go to the meeting records, and you can turn on recording the meeting, transcribing the meeting, so that when the host or co-host joins the meeting, that starts automatically. So if I turn on the recording and then I join the meeting, it just starts recording. People do see a warning that it will be recorded, so they're not taken by surprise. But this is great if it's something that you might forget to do. It's one less thing you have to do while you're inside the meeting. The downside, of course, is that if you start your meeting with random chit chat, that would be recorded too. The other Google update I wanted to mention was for Google Calendar. As you may be aware, Google Calendar has a tool that lets you set up appointment slots. This is actually available to everyone, even if you have a free Google account, except that the number of slots and the features are limited a little bit if you have a free account. But basically, you can go into Google Calendar, set up an appointment slot, and people can then sign up for an appointment on that slot. You can even do paid appointments if you have a Google Workspace Individual account or other paid accounts. The update this week is that it makes it easier to customize repeating appointment slots. So you're not just saying, oh, it repeats weekly. You can make it a little bit more customized where you can say, oh, this slot is available every other week, something like that. The other option that they've added is that they allow guests to book their content. I'm sorry, you can turn it on so that guests can invite other guests. I'm not sure when you would use that. It may be that, oh, you want to do a team thing so people can invite their colleagues. But those are updates. If you haven't actually used it and you have people meet with you, you might want to check out that option. When you create an appointment slot, it creates a booking page, and you can embed the booking page on your website, for example. The last thing I wanted to mention is an update that makes me happy. This is a small thing. Microsoft Word. All of you have probably used Microsoft Word at some time. They have changed the default behavior when you copy something and paste it into a Word document. So let's say you have a website and you want to copy the information there and paste it into Word. They've changed it so the default is to merge formatting rather than keep the source formatting, which is really nice. So instead of pasting things into your document and then having to reformat it to match the formatting of the document, now the default, it matches the format of the document. And it's not just like pasting without formatting, because it remembers things like bolding and headers and tables, things like that. And it keeps that formatting, but all the rest, it matches the text and the font size and everything. This is just like one of those small features that makes life easier. So those are my updates for this week. There were some more updates as well, which you can check out in the article or my newsletter. Some tips from Instagram about creating reels, and some other options for threads and X. Too many things to talk about today. So I wanted to just leave you guys. Eileen says, I wish Google Docs. Yeah, me too. I actually use Google Docs now more often than I use Microsoft Word, and I copy paste things in all the time. So I would love if that was the default option there. I do a lot of reformatting. And Jolyn says, kudos to Microsoft for the Word update. Yeah, it's nice, and they especially made a call out to say this was based on user feedback. It's always good to hear when a company is listening. On the other hand, they embedded a tweet in the announcement that shows somebody really wanting this, and the tweet was like 3 or 4 years ago. So it takes time. Nothing happens quickly. So I wanted to close up today to notice that there's this chat we have that I do with the OnEBoard group I'm hosting this week. It's going to be about how-to videos and how you find them. There will be a poll, and you can access it on the community tab of my channel immediately after this, or you can go over to X and chat about it there. So thank you all for joining me live today. It's great seeing you, and I will see you again next Sunday. Everybody have a fantastic week.